Today we're diving into one of the most important facets of buying and selling a home, the real estate contract. Here in Florida, you might have heard the terms FAR or as is, but what exactly do those mean?
To help us break this all down, we've brought in Natasha Selvaraj with Patten, Ebling. Tell us a little bit more about these differences, please.
Sure. So in Florida, one of the common contracts is the FAR standard contract and the other is the FAR as is contract. FAR stands for Florida Association of Realtors and Florida Bar. So they work together, they have a committee that comprises realtors and attorneys from across the state that put together the standard contracts that we use. The standard contract is the residential contract for sale and purchase. That one is different than the as-is contract in terms of the way that repairs and inspections are handled. Typically, everything else within the contract is identical. You'll see very similar financing contingencies, or rather identical financing contingencies, similar processes for making your deposits, objecting to title, dealing with surveys, and all of those kinds of things.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the differences when it comes to the home inspections for these two different contracts?
Absolutely. So the as-is contract, as the name implies, is as is. The buyer gets an inspection period during which they can do any type of inspection that they want, and the theory is that at the end of the inspection period, they will accept the property in the condition that it's in, or be able to walk away and get their deposit back. So simply put, they can cancel the contract for any reason during their inspection period and get their deposit back. The standard contract, the other version if you will, has very specific inspection requirements. It allows buyers to conduct specific types of inspections in three categories: general inspections, permit inspections, and then WDO inspections, which are your wood destroying organisms, termites, and things of that nature. In that contract, there's a repair limit that gets negotiated at the beginning of the transaction, and then a seller is obligated to make repairs up to that repair limit. And if the cost of repairs exceed that, it gives the parties opportunity to negotiate and sort of go from there. But it locks the buyer into buying the property and locks the seller into spending some money to make repairs, depending on what's found during that inspection period.
So Natasha, to clarify, if a buyer were to use the as-is contract, they can't ask for any repairs?
That's a great question. While that seems like the intention of the contract, in practice, repairs often do get negotiated. So while the buyer can cancel for any reason, get their deposit and walk away, what we see in a more practical manner is that buyers still request repairs. They take advantage of knowing that perhaps the seller doesn't want them to walk away over something minor and still uses that inspection period to request repairs to the home or credits for repairs as the case might be.
Got it.
Terrific. So in both these cases with all the contracts, what scenarios do you think is best for a buyer? What do you think is best for a seller within those?
Great question. This is a very lawyer answer, but I think it depends. A lot of times it really depends on your specific buyer or seller. So being able to have a conversation and really understand someone's priorities are going to make a difference in selecting the contract that's right for them. You might have a seller who really does want an as-is contract because they don't want to be bothered with making any repairs. They don't feel like it's necessary. Perhaps they don't have the bandwidth to take it on, and they want a buyer who's going to look and either take it or leave it and move on. Whereas you might have sellers who do want to put money in and are willing to spend money on repairs, and they might prefer the standard contract that's going to lock in that buyer should they be willing to make repairs.
Very good.
Okay, so Natasha, we've talked about some of the ways that a buyer can get out of a contract if they're not happy with the home inspection. What provisions are there for a seller to get out of a contract?
So both of these form contracts, standard contracts, don't have any clear out for the seller. So the seller can't wake up one morning and decide that they don't want to sell. There might be certain contingencies in there that the seller can rely on. There might be a title issue that pops up and gives a seller an out at a convenient time, but otherwise the only out that the seller has is on a finance contract. If the seller does not meet the loan approval deadline, does not provide notice that they're going to move forward, it opens up a 3-day window where a seller can actually cancel the contract, but they do have to give the buyer their deposit back. But that's the one time a seller can say, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this out and cancel the contract.
So they don't have kind of a 5-day out so they really have to take a decision that they really do want to sell this property
Yeah.
when they commit to listing it. Is that right?
Exactly. So once they're under contract, they're locked in. There might be, one-off situations where a buyer ends up in default and they can get out, but generally speaking, you're correct. They don't have the ability, there's no cooling off period. There's no, let me take that signature or initial back. Once they sign it, they are locked into selling the property at the terms that are in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, I think these all show good reasons why having an experienced realtor and a good partner, a good real estate attorney, help you navigate this whole process.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times we've had instances where someone has decided to do it on their own because they can take advantage of AI or whatever other resources Google is providing for free. And unfortunately, sometimes things get missed or things don't get applied the way that they should be, or they don't factor in things that are specific to Florida. And you end up with buyers or even sellers who find themselves in predicaments or with contracts that don't really work the way that they want or work for them in the way that they intended. So making sure they're working with professionals is going to go a long way to keep your transaction on track.
If you go through all these too, and again, you've got the experienced people working with you, is there any legal consequences for using a wrong contract in the wrong situation that might affect you?
So yes and no. If you sign a contract and it's not what you wanted, you're still bound by the terms. There's no out because you didn't read it, you didn't get it, it's not quite what you meant, because there's the presumption that when you're signing these legal documents that is the intention. It's kind of memorializing the agreement between the parties. So there might be situations where there's legal arguments that you can make and go through a ton of litigation to get where you want to get, but typically once you've signed a contract, you're going to be bound by those terms, and so you want to make sure that you're clear on what they mean up front and not, again, hoping that there's some type of cooling off period where you can figure it out later, because usually at that point it's too late.
Yeah, I think that that scenario, these kind of things, just help reaffirm why it's important to have experienced individuals in there. Know that your real estate agent is not your legal advice. We will tell you that every time. That's why we have a professional come and talk to us about these things, and where we seek that advice too. I think it's very important to have that legal advice.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Absolutely. We so appreciate your time and all of this great information. Thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is Jeff Polster and Linda Lobo. This has been Real Estate Unpacked. We're the PoLo Team at Real Broker. If you like this, share it, add a follow, add a like. Look for more information coming from us soon.
Thanks. We'll see you next time.